People who love the brand love it with a passion, which is why it kind of feels like I'm committing a sin criticizing this piece. I am nothing if not a luxury enabler, but I just love sharing things that I genuinely love. But today we are switching things up, and I'm going to be sharing with you my very honest thoughts on some of the hottest luxury trends and pieces everyone seems to be talking about this season, but ones I will not be buying. From suede Birkin bags that, yes, look breathtaking for exactly one wear, all the way to cozy, quiet luxury staples like the Row Ophelia sweater. These are pieces I will strictly be admiring from afar. Now, obviously, you spend your money on whatever makes you happy, but if you would like to hear my candid take on some of the current it pieces in luxury with a touch of realism, then make sure to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe down below if you haven't done so yet, and keep on watching. In case I seem a little loopy in today's video, I do apologize, but I've not been sleeping the best. As you can tell, I am still recovering from a little bit of a cold, but today is the only day I can film this week because the rest of my week is packed, so the show must go on. And with that out of the way, let's dive into some of the hottest trends and luxury pieces I will not be pulling out my credit card for. And I thought we could start with a trend that has been tempting me for years. It's a trend that comes back each and every single year, and there is a reason for that, because I cannot think of anything more fall appropriate than a beautiful rich suede bag or suede jacket. I think you will definitely start seeing your favorite influencers pulling out their Margot 17s in suede, and also some newer launches like the Balenciaga Rodeo bag, which is one that I have been going on and on about. Now, there is nothing inherently wrong with any one of these pieces. I adore the way they look. I just personally don't think that suede fits into my lifestyle, because living in Amsterdam, I bike most places, which means that I'm exposed to all the elements. It tends to rain quite a lot here in the fall and in the winter, which is when these textures really come into their own. So personally, I cannot justify spending a huge amount of money on a suede bag, because suede bags do look beautiful, but not for long. They are quite delicate, they can be quite fragile and finicky. And even though it's a style that Hermes is going to be offering for spring-summer 2026, you might have just seen some Birkin 30s walking the runway in suede, or as Hermes calls them, doubly finish. They are pieces that you have to be incredibly careful with. And when it comes to bags that cost thousands and thousands of dollars, or in Hermes's case, tens of thousands of dollars, I cannot justify buying something that I have to be overly precious about. I want to make sure that if I'm spending serious money on a piece, it's something that I can actually put to use, and it will bring me more joy than headache. So what I would do personally is I would prefer to buy a suede bag that does not cost an arm and a leg, something that is exquisitely made, something that features design details that will add value to my collection and to an outfit, but it's not so expensive that I will have to shield it with my life. There is a bag that I talked about in a recent video of mine. Or if you would prefer to go down the designer route, you can still buy pieces that will add a similar finish and texture to an outfit as a suede bag would, but with a slightly more hard-wearing finish, which is bags offered in nubuck leather. Moving on to another reoccurring seasonal trend, which I'm not even sure if we can label these as trends necessarily, considering that they will predictably come back each and every single year. I mean, I guess some seasons brands emphasize them more than others, but the next trend that I wanted to touch on is the trend of chocolate brown. If you watched my last shopping vlog at Hermes, you might have noticed that the color Havane is making a comeback, which is one of Hermes's most traditional colors. As I mentioned in the shopping vlog, it's not in the same league with Rouge Ash or even the color black, but it is definitely a really classic traditional Hermes color, which was around many years ago, and it's now making a comeback, not only in regular leather, but also in croc and alligator. And as much as I appreciate a deep, rich chocolate brown, in the fall, it's just not a color that really suits me, not when it comes to bags and definitely not when it comes to ready to wear. I have tried playing around with different shades of brown, and it's just really not a color that suits me. I don't know if it's because of my complexion, if it's because of my hair color, but I have a feeling that it tends to wash me out quite badly, and it has the tendency to make me look quite dull and gray. I am partial to navy and black, both in ready to wear and also in bags and leather goods and shoes. The only thing that I can think of that I have in chocolate brown that I do love is a beautiful pair of suede boots from Hermes with a Be Happy buckle on the side, which by the way is the most beautiful pair of boots I have ever seen and I have ever owned. So I guess boots is something that I would invest in, but anything that comes close to my face and that has a reflection on my complexion, I will not be buying into. And when it comes to bags, I have a very hard time matching chocolate browns and cocoa browns with the pieces that I have in my collection. A bag that's making a comeback, and I feel it is going to have a huge influence on what similar shapes and styles we'll be seeing from other brands, is the Chloe Paddington bag. Now, Chloe never really went anywhere, but they are slowly sneaking their way back into our hearts and into our lives, and the Paddington bag is of course an extremely iconic shape from the brand that was recently reinvented, and I feel like it is a bag that a lot of people will really enjoy. But this is a great example of an overly trendy bag. I think if you want to carry this bag this season, you will be turning heads. You will get a ton of compliments on this bag, but I do think that it is one of those shapes and styles that will not age gracefully. It will look and feel worn and dated a lot quicker than you would want it to for the price. And I really think it's not only just about this particular design, but it's also about this shape of a barrel bag. These really soft, slouchy barrel shaped bags don't tend to age well. Yes, they do work for people who have an extremely laid back, bohemian aesthetic, but I think they can look really aged and really just messy and chaotic, and for the price, that's not what you expect. So that is a bag that I would not suggest you spending your hard-earned money on unless you are a huge Chloe fan. And then a bag that I actually quite like on some people, but it's not something that would work in my life, is the Gucci Giglio bag, I believe it's called, which is this huge canvas tote bag that actually launched for, I want to say it was 2026 cruise, even before Gucci had a new creative director. It was actually designed by the house's design team, and I think it is a huge accomplishment that the design team, without having someone at the helm of the brand, was able to create such a successful it bag, because this has been all the craze. I mean, it has all the elements for an it bag: heavy branding, easy, effortless style, something that suits a lot of people and their lifestyles. And it's made of canvas, which makes it lightweight, not to mention that it is really reasonably priced. I think this bag is just under 2,000 euros in Europe, which I mean is not shocking considering that it is just basically a huge piece of canvas that is stitched around the edges. But I actually quite appreciate it on some people. I've seen people carrying it handheld as a little clutch bag, which, yes, photographs beautifully, but let's be honest, it's not the most practical when it comes to most larger bags. But I think because this is made of canvas, it is going to be something that you can actually grab and go, because you can fold it, it is lightweight, it's quite squishy, so it's a bag that I do think you can do quite a lot with. It initially launched in the classic GG monogram in brown, but for this current season, it's not only offered in 2 different sizes, so you of course still have the large Giglio tote, but it's recently been introduced in a smaller size with a shoulder strap, and it's also now available in 2 additional colors, in an indigo denim finish and a black denim finish, which I really have nothing against this bag other than the fact that to me the GG monogram is just a little bit overwhelming. If this bag was available in leather, I think I would be all for it, but the Gucci monogram to me is just a little bit too much of an eyesore. Moving on to a contemporary brand that I actually have a lot of love and appreciation for. Their design aesthetic is right up my alley, but sadly one of their designs has become just a little bit too overdone in my opinion, which let me tell you, I have a lot of respect for the fact that they single-handedly created the it coat style of the past few years, but it did not take long for all the fast fashion companies to copy them and cheapen the overall look and feel of this design, which is the Toteme scarf coat, which is offered in two different styles. There is a slightly longer and a shorter version, and it comes in a handful of colors at this point. It is a wool coat that, as much as I love the ingenuity of the design, at this point to me it feels quite overdone and cheap. And whether you buy one from Toteme or Mango, I don't think there is going to be that much of a difference. I mean, if you want to support Toteme still because they deserve it, by all means go ahead, but I don't think you are getting something that looks and feels unique enough to justify the price. And then another piece that I again love the look of, but I would personally not turn to Toteme to get, is their country jacket, which is their very, I guess, honest tribute to a barber jacket. You know that I love a waxed barber inspired or traditional barber jacket, and so I also love the one from Toteme. It comes in a few different colors, and I do like the elbow patches, which is not a detail that you'll see on most barber jackets, but I think they charge just under €1,000 or $1,000. I think it's 750 euros and just under $1,000 for this particular jacket, when you could buy something from a heritage jacket maker like Barber, whose bread and butter is this type of a jacket, which I feel like would last a lot longer in your collection. But again, nothing wrong with it. I just think it's quite overpriced for what it is, and I think you could get the real deal, something that will genuinely be an heirloom piece in your collection for a lot less money. I am very open to being proven wrong, but I'm fairly certain not many people could make these pieces look flattering. Starting with a new bag from Chanel, which is inspired by their classic flap. Now, if you've been with me for a while, you'll know that I'm not the biggest fan of the classic flap. I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with it, but I do feel that it looks and feels quite overdone, although I still like it in a unique finish. And while this new take on the classic flap does actually come in two new finishes, I don't like either one of them, and that's because of the shape. And it is this new east-west elongated take on the classic flap. It is quite reminiscent of the Kelly cut, which again is a shape that I just don't really appreciate. Both of these bags kind of remind me of the traditional bag being chopped in half. And this one from Chanel I think is even more narrow than the Kelly cut, which makes it look like a case for an instrument, like a case for a flute. It also has this hard, solid, really structured handle, which again reminds me of something that you would carry around some sort of equipment in. It does not feel refined or elegant in any shape or form. If anything, it just feels kind of utilitarian. I mean, if you are a flute player and you need a case for your flute, this might just be it. But for most people out there, I think this will look and feel quite awkward. And I think these pieces start at like $6,700. It's available in pink tweed, and then it also comes in two shades of metallic calfskin, which will set you back $7,000. The only piece from this new fall winter collection that I'm kind of, I don't want to use the word tempted by, because that would imply that it's something that I'm actively considering. Something that I do appreciate from afar is the Maxi Classic flap in black denim. They are doing some of their bags in this new faded denim finish. There is a Maxi flap with two pockets on the outside, which kind of remind me of the pockets you'll find on a classic tweed jacket from Chanel. That bag I quite like the look of, and if I was forced to buy something from Chanel, that's the one I would pick. And I think it is reasonably priced for a Chanel bag. I think it's just around $7,500. But other than that, this collection is really not one that's speaking to me. But I cannot wait to hear your thoughts on the new upcoming Chanel collection that, of course, has a new creative director. But this fall winter collection, I think, left most people wanting more. But this particular east-west take on the classic flap will actually give us nightmares. Admittedly, I am a big fan of the Row, But that does not mean that I think that anything and everything the brand offers is worth the money. I do think that there are some pieces that are slightly overpriced for what they are, or they are too romanticized because they might look amazing in a picture or on a mannequin. They will not really work for most people in real life, and this is a prime example of that. But if you have no idea about the Row, how they started, what they're all about, I will make sure to have a brand deep dive linked up here for you, where I also share some recommendations on where to start your collection. But there's one thing for sure, the Row can feel almost cult-like. People who love the brand love it with a passion, which is why it kind of feels like I'm committing a sin criticizing this piece. But I have to be honest with you, I really don't think that this particular piece works on most people, but I know I'm in the minority by saying this, because this is one of those pieces that the Row has been doing for years, yet it sells out each and every single season, which is their iconic Ophelia sweater, which is this oversized chunky knit. And that's what I think is the biggest downfall of this piece, is how unbelievably oversized it fits. I really think that most people just end up drowning in all that fiber and all that fabric. It is made of actually not cashmere. A lot of people would assume that it is a cashmere sweater, just judging it by the price, because I think it is over $1,500 at this point. But I believe, if it has not changed, at one point it was made of 65% wool and 35% cashmere, although that might fluctuate depending on the season. But the fact that it's made of wool is actually not something I have anything against, because the perfect blend of wool and cashmere can make pieces last a little bit longer, but wool tends to look and feel heavier, which this style and this cut is heavy enough to begin with. But I really think that most people would just end up being buried in fabric when it comes to this particular piece. But if you love the idea, but you're looking for something slightly more flattering and a lot more reasonably priced, just know that the cause, well, not the cause, but cause, the brand offers an amazing alternative every single season. If it's already out for this upcoming fall winter season, I will make sure to have it linked down below for you. But the Ophelia is not one that I think would look flattering on most people out. How could I do a full themed video without talking about a cozy weather staple, which is of course sweat sets? And I never thought that I would ever come on here and badmouth this brand, which I'm still not going to do. I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with this brand. It's a brand that I've been wearing for a year or two at this point, and I have to be honest with you, their shorts and their activewear is still my favorite. The fits, the quality, the fabrics is still the best out there in my opinion. But sadly, it has become quite overdone in my life, at least. The gym that I go to, I used to never see people wearing this brand, but now every other person, well, if not maybe every person at this point, is wearing something from this brand, which is Aloe. Now, this might not be something that you are dealing with, but Aloe has just opened 2 new stores in Amsterdam, which is where I currently live. And I have to tell you, it has become the new, what should we call it? The new Louis Vuitton Neverfull. Everyone is going crazy with wearing head to toe Aloe, which I can understand because it's a brand that I do really appreciate. But I don't like buying things and spending money on things that every single person out there has in some shape or form. And as much as I love some of my Accolade sweaters, it's not something that I will continue buying. So if you have any new activewear recommendation for me that might be a little bit more lesser known or understated, please leave them in the comment section below. Vuitton has recently launched the Mark folder, which I was really tempted by because I felt that it would be the perfect luxury accessory to have in my collection for going to school. It's essentially this envelope-like folder that features a dedicated pocket for all your daily work essentials. So you have a built-in pocket for a 13-inch Mac, you have a tiny card holder, you have a phone case, and I think you might also have a couple of slots for pens in case that's something that you choose to carry in this digital age that we live in. And then it is offered in the Louis Vuitton monogram canvas with a large trunk padlock on the front, which I loved the idea of. And it's also really reasonably priced. I think it's just around 1100 euros. So it's something that I was really tempted by, so much so that I even added it to my cart. When it became available, I did not think that would ever be possible because considering how reasonably priced it is, I assumed it wasn't something that I was going to be able to get my hands on, or at least not online. But I was able to add it to my cart, yet I couldn't pull the trigger. And at the end of the day, it came down to two things. One, my Mac is actually 14 inches, I think, not 13, which is fine. I have been considering downsizing anyway, and that could have been the push that I needed. But even more so than that, it was the fact that it was only offered in the monogram canvas, which to me, again, just feels a little bit too loud and a little bit too overdone. And while it is offered in two different colors of the canvas, you have the traditional monogram canvas and the reverse. I just felt that it would be a little bit too loud as something that I would carry to school every single day. And it just did not suit my personal aesthetic. Had this been available in epi leather or really in a leather without the monogram canvas, I would have jumped on it in a heartbeat because it would have filled a gap in my collection that I really need filling. And last but not least, let's end with a piece that I am dying to hear your thoughts on. Even if you don't usually comment, please, if you wouldn't mind, let me know in the comment section what you think. If you're still here watching, of course, because I would love to know what you think, because the Love collection from Cartier finally has a new edition. In case you were not aware, I'm pretty sure that you are at this point, especially if you are a regular viewer of mine, but the Love range launched in 1969 in New York, and it has quickly become one of the most recognizable creations of fine jewelry, and it finally has a new addition to the range because, of course, as loved as the Love collection is, there are a couple of pitfalls. Number one, you have to size it perfectly because it is a hard shell bangle. So if you cannot find the perfect size, it can be quite uncomfortable to wear. Not to mention that it is a hard shell bangle, which can be quite difficult to put on and take off, considering that there is a screwdriver that goes along with it, because the idea is that this is something that would be screwed on you by someone who loves you. It's actually inspired by the tradition of medieval chastity belts. Call it what you will. Of course, having something screwed on your wrist is not something that everyone enjoyed the idea of. It can make you feel quite claustrophobic, or it might not be something that you can have on you perhaps for work, which is why they initially launched the cuff range, which made it a lot easier to remove these pieces. But now they have a new flexible range, which is called the Love Unlimited. And these are pieces that feature 200 miniature components, which allow this piece to flow as freely and as flexibly as a ribbon without losing that solid look and feel that the Love collection is so beloved for. And then it also has a patent pending hidden mechanism, which actually allows you to attach multiple Love bracelets to each other. And you might be wondering, why would you do that? Well, that's where the name comes from. Unlimited. In theory, you can have an unlimited number of Love bracelets attached. And what you could do is you could buy one for yourself, you could buy one for your partner, and then if you choose to do so, you can borrow their bracelet, attach them together, and either wear them wrapped around your wrist twice, or you can turn them into a necklace, even a belt, depending on how many of them you choose to buy, or a back charm. So the idea is that you have an unlimited number of these pieces that you can put together, and the mechanism is something that Cartier claims you can actually take off with just one hand, but it is secure enough that it will not just slip off your wrist. It's something that is offered in all three shades of gold, so yellow, rose, and white gold, and it starts at $9,400. Yellow gold and rose gold is always slightly less expensive than white gold. I think white gold, this piece will set you back $9,900. And then they also have some matching rings, which are sadly not flexible, surprisingly and sadly are not flexible, but they feature the same fluted details that these individual miniature mechanisms give the bracelet, and they are just around $3,000. But I would love to hear what you have to say about this new collection, especially if you are a fan of the Cartier Love collection. I cannot wait to hear your thoughts, and it's actually something I'm quite intrigued to try for myself. And by the way, it does come in the full range of Cartier sizes. But let's have a discussion about it in the comment section. But this actually brings us to the end of today's video about all the hottest luxury pieces I will not be spending my money on. Let me know what you think in the comment section. And while you're down there, make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't done so yet. I really appreciate you being here and watching, and I cannot wait to see you back here with a new video really, really soon.